with the ongoing crisis, obviously, just like pretty much every stock out there, unless they're companies that sell exclusively toilet paper, Tesla stock is down as well. Not as much as I thought it would be. However, the question obviously is, once we're out of the woods, will the Tesla stock be able to recover? Because it was an amazing trip uphill and hitting almost $1,000 a share. I'm going to have Eli Burton in just 1 second from My Tesla Adventure, and he will talk about it. He's been really into it lately, and you know, we've seen most of the stocks kind of do relatively well in the last couple of days, and this is the Tesla stock also recovering just a little bit, still at about $528. But you know, I guess it's not where it's now, and even in the next couple of weeks, what is going to happen and what needs to happen with Tesla as the company in order to be able to recover from this and for the stock to start doing better. By the way, thank you to Eli and pretty much all of my contributors for still sticking around and doing their segments weekly and monthly. Just had the Sandy Munro just the other day. We did 2 parts. You can see that on my channel. Of course, Karsten Breinfeld of Fair Day Future and Rich Rebuild. So thank you so much. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel, because this is a perfect time to do so. And if you already have, then hit the bell notification icon so you don't miss anything moving forward. All right, so we're going to talk about a few things here. You know, obviously where we're at right now, where the company is going, you know, in the next few months as we're recovering. Will it do better than other companies like GM and some of the startups like Biden, Neo, and so forth? And what needs to happen for the stock to start recovering nicely? Before that, of course, a quick reminder that this video and this channel is sponsored by Byton. Check out their all-electric SUV called M-Byte, coming to the US and Europe next year. It's absolutely no money down to create your reservation, so do so by using the link in the description of this video. And Evanex, the aftermarket accessories for Tesla. Use E for Electric, the name of this channel, as a discount code for all of your purchases over $100, or also hit the link in the description of this video. All right, without further ado, here's Eli. Eli, let's talk about what is happening with the stock right now, and where do you think this is going in the next few months as we're hopefully recovering from this disaster?
So it has been a pretty wild ride in the stock market the last week, and that's for everybody and not just Tesla. We watched the market fall down 30%, setting, you know, new records for how fast it fell. And then it's recovered 20% in the past 3 days. I mean, things are going crazy right now, and Tesla is definitely riding this whirlwind. I mean, its stock was down below $400 a share, the 300 price range just a few days ago, as you see in the dip in this graph. Now it's back to $528 a share. The Tesla factories are currently closed, and instead of manufacturing cars, they're making ventilators.
All right, so now let me ask you just a general question, because you're into the stock market way more. And by the way, we should probably tell our audience that we're not your financial advisors. You should not make your financial decisions based on this. This is for entertainment purposes only. This is our opinion. So
they're not giving any specific advice about the purchasing or selling of stock. And yes, our lawyers made us say that.
I was going to say, you've been hanging out with your lawyer way too much lately. So, all right, fair enough. Now, tell me a little bit about, you know, okay, so this is different from like a regular recession, right? This is obviously a pandemic, which it looks like can be controlled. You know, China and a couple of other countries are now kind of coming out of that. Their stores are open, their factories are open, they're making cars now. Tesla, Volvo, and pretty much everybody else. Now, so why is market reacting to this temporary, obviously, issue so harshly right now?
Well, this is probably the wildest thing I've ever seen in my life that affected global economies, because, like, you know, there were no indicators that this was going to be what stopped the juggernaut, right? Like, the global markets had been all-time highs, and people were wondering, like, you know, when's this ever going to end? What's going to stop it? And as it turns out, COVID-19 showed up and said, I got you guys. Here's the answer. I'm going to stop it. Well, it's the crazy, because like basically what happened is we flipped the economy off like a light switch. We didn't just like fall into this recession and people slowly started losing their jobs and companies cutting back. Overnight, we told most of the country, most of the working part of the country, to stay home. So immediately, a whole lot of people stopped earning income. Some of these big tech companies are still paying people. But we also told a whole bunch of people that to basically stop spending, because they can't go out, they can't consume services. 70% of our economy is services, by the way. We have a service economy. So we basically just turned our economy off, and we don't know when it's going to come back online.
Well, okay, so granted, but it looks like we all agree that this is temporary, and obviously, investing in the stock market is something that people are supposed to do long term. Does this mean that the market believes that it's going to be a long and painful recovery, or do you think this is a bit of an overreaction?
Well, so here's the thing. A whole big point of how an economy does and whether economy is in what they call a recession, it's a mindset. And if people are in the mindset that they're worried about spending money, that's how a downed economy turns into a recession. And the Fed came out and said he thinks that we may be entering a recession. And a recession is a place where people are not as willing to let go and spend their money. And we're in a place where a lot of jobs are uncertain. Millions of people have lost their jobs already. For the month of February, 3.3 million people filed for unemployment. That number is going to grow, I think, significantly in March, which is actually the month where most of the people were told to stay home, where most of the restaurants had to shutter their doors and or lay off most staff because now they're delivery only if they're even still able to operate. I think the unemployment numbers are going to grow. So we're going to have a whole lot of people are going to be out of a job. As once this thing ends, these restaurants aren't going to go back to being full. So those jobs are going to go away for a while. As the economy shrinks and people are willing to spend less money, people that do still have jobs are going to be worried how long they're going to have their job and when it's going to be that their company is going to do layoffs and what that's going to look like and if they're going to be affected. So I think I think it's all but certain that we enter a recession as a result of the fear that comes after this, because this whole thing is driven by fear, right? Like we've got this invisible thing with an unknown mortality rate coming at us that we can't see and don't know we have it until days after we've contracted it.
All right. Well, let's talk about specifically Tesla because, and you're right. I just had Sandy Munro on the show, and the video's already posted. And I've all the things that we talked about, factories, coming back online, and all of that stuff. He believes it also comes to the consumer confidence, and that, as you also pointed out, probably is taking a huge hit.
And that's part of it too. We don't know we have no idea what consumer confidence numbers are right now because there's nothing for them to be confident in, right? They've just been told to stay home. Once they get to the point that they can go back out in the world and even think about spending money on things besides Netflix or Disney Plus or, video games or other online adult entertainment, we have no idea how people are going to actually feel. So that's another unknown that has yet to fully impact the stock market, because we don't know what people are going to feel like. Nobody knows what this post-coronavirus world looks like yet, because this is the first pandemic we've had in anyone's lifetime.
All right. Well, so let's talk specifically about Tesla and how it's going to affect its stock. Now, do you believe that right now the stock is in the right place? Because it's about halfway of half of what it used to be only a few weeks ago at its highest, right? But it's still higher than it was only a few months ago.
Tesla's a car manufacturer that has closed factories, and it's only down. It's down less than 50% from its all-time high. That was a total record run up after 2 quarters of really good success and profitability. I think if I were Tesla, I'd be very happy about the share price right now.
Absolutely agree. I mean, obviously the Chinese factory opened right now.
Honestly, I'm shocked, in fact, that it's back at over $500 a share.
Yeah,
I thought it was going to stay at under 400 or in the low 400s for longer. I'm shocked that it shot back up, and I think that only happened because there's so many people who were like, dang it, when Tesla went to $900 a share, they missed out. And when they saw it come back down, they just threw money at it and actually drove the stock price up, maybe even higher than it probably should be right now.
All right. So now,
and by the way, don't call me a Tesla hater for saying the stock price is higher than it should be, guys. Elon Musk on Twitter about 1.5 years, 2 years ago said, yeah, to be honest, our share price is a little high right now.
No.
Willing to admit when Tesla's overvalued.
We don't have anybody ever criticize anybody on the air for being too harsh on Tesla on this channel. Come on now. Okay, so listen, let's talk about the consumer confidence that you're talking about. All right, once the factory, the Chinese factory is back on, right? Now, once the Fremont factory comes back on and the Gigafactory in Nevada comes back on, obviously it's not as easy as to turn the switch on, like we just discussed it with Sandy. You have to get the workers back, figure out if they remember their jobs, making sure that the biggest thing, obviously, the suppliers. Now, Tesla is in a better position because obviously they're vertically integrated versus a lot of other manufacturers that rely on the suppliers. And there's a first tier, second and third tier, and those second and third tier suppliers may have just been out of business just because of this. And you can only make cars as fast as your slowest supplier. Do you think that Tesla is positioned better to come on back online and start making cars to its full capacity versus other manufacturers?
I think Tesla's level of vertical integration is a huge advantage, especially in a case like this. And I think Tesla will be able to come back online within a few weeks once they're able to turn the factory back on. But the bigger question is going to be, what's the demand going to look like? How many cars per week are they going to be needing to produce to be able to meet the demand? And how do they forecast that demand fluctuating as the world navigates this post-coronavirus world?
All right. So now, now let's talk as far as the demand, because supply, I kind of agree with you that it's probably going to come on, and with Sandy that it's going to come back on relatively fast. But do you think there's still going to be demand for Teslas? I mean, they're not the cheapest cars out there. I mean, they go over 100,000, as you know yourself, right? Do you think, and right now they're selling everything they're making, or at least before this, do you think there will still be enough demand to sell whatever they're making right now without ramping up any more production? Or do you think they will start feeling the effects of this right away, and there will be cars that they will have to kind of or maybe even decrease the production? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So, I mean, one of the upsides for Tesla is luxury goods are typically more resilient in a recession because the people who they're being targeted usually have more money and are less affected by these shorter to middle term market issues. However, it is definitely going to impact sales. There are people who are going to be reaching and buying their first luxury car that maybe it was a little on the high end for them, but they were going to do it anyway because the economy was good and they just really, really want a Tesla. Those people are probably not going to be buying a Tesla now, or not going to be able to afford it for a few more years or a year or whatever until they feel like their economic situation is stable. So it is definitely going to impact their sales. I think the result will be they cut down on their production because they can do that. Because if sales go down, they need to cut operating costs. So they'll need to cut labor and decrease their production. I think it's 100% guaranteed Tesla will have to cut some amount of production. The question will be, what is it? Do they have to cut 10%? Do they have to cut 20%? And then for also, how long do they have to cut that production?
Interesting. I gotta tell you, I would not be surprised if the demand was so huge that even with it being, with shrinking, because, people who buy Teslas, they're already relatively well off, that they may actually stick with the numbers they may not grow, but they might actually be able to sell the same numbers. So,
well, remember, I mean, they're in a place right now where growth was to be expected, right? Because they just launched Model Y. And that's a growth vehicle, right? Their projections were to do 500,000 cars for the year, and that's doing full ramp as they can on Model Y. I don't see them being able to meet that full demand on full ramp on Y and 3. S and X may still do fine, but Model Y and Model 3 does still have 35K and 40K price points, which again is still luxury. It's on the lower end of luxury, but again, I think a lot of those people who would have previously bought a Civic or a Camry are not going to reach up to a new Tesla. They're going to be buying a used car if they're buying one at all.
And for now, unfortunately, the argument that buy an electric car because electricity is cheaper than gas, that's not going to work for now. So
yeah, that's been completely imploded. In fact, I read an article today that oil prices may fall to $10 a barrel because literally the world has nowhere to store the current supply of oil that's been pumped out of the ground. Nobody's driving. Oil, air pollution is the lowest it's been in like modern human history because the world has literally stopped. So yeah, oil is going to be pretty cheap for a while until OPEC and these other players can like shrink the supply to be more in line with demand.
All right, so now let's finally get to the most important point here. So let's assume that the Tesla will not be able to sell as many cars as they're selling right now. They'll have to decrease production for a little bit. Where do you see them being in Q2, Q3, maybe even Q4? Do you think the market will react and better because they might have recovered better than others? Because, I can see GM and other companies, and Mercedes especially, and luxury brands not being at 100 or even 80 or 70% of their output as far as sales are concerned, no matter how fast they're making the cars, and Tesla doing better compared to others. Do you think just based on that, the stock price will go up?
I think Tesla is definitely going to outperform their competitors in the coming year. However, I think the year's entire performance is going to hang on what their guidance is at the end of Q1 as they make projections into Q2, and how they're going to adapt their expenditures to align with the new world that they operate in. I think that moment right there will determine what course the stock market takes in 2020. I think if they're conservative and they estimate more on the lower side, and give themselves a chance to beat projections, I think 2020 could be a stock year. But if they don't take it seriously enough in their numbers, or they just end up happening to be wrong, which can happen, right? This is a brave new world we're entering. That if they're wrong on the side of overestimating, I think it could really hurt the stock in 2020. But it's all going to come down for me to that end of Q1 numbers.
All right, now last question I wanted to ask, but do you think this is something that going to vindicate the short sellers? Do you think this is something they're celebrating, or they're like, whoa, whew, thank God, but never again? Or do you think they haven't learned their lesson yet?
I mean, this was kind of a collapse of the global economy. Everybody went down together. Tesla didn't go down faster than them. I mean, Tesla's stock has moved pretty much in line with the rest of the market. So, I mean, anybody who is short selling made some money. And so, I mean, it doesn't matter if you're shorting Tesla, shorted anything in the market, pretty much you made money over the last couple of weeks.
All right. Well, I agreed. Well, I'm sure we'll revisit this topic, a few more times. Obviously, this is probably the hottest topic in the Tesla community, because I think a lot of people really want to make sure that this company does well out there on the stock market, and which obviously it will be a translation from their sales.
And quite a few people got the opportunity to place orders for $4.20 a share. I had a number of people send me screenshots of their order that went through for either $4.20 or $4.20.69. They just wanted to buy a share price at $4.20.
Touche. All right, man. Well, listen, I appreciate you hanging out with me once again. We'll monitor the situation, obviously, since we're we're also practicing the social distancing as well, even though we live only 20 minutes away.
We only meet now over webcam.
That's right. So we'll keep up with that. Other than that, I will see you next week.
Thanks, Alex.
All right, guys. Well, listen, definitely, these are interesting but kind of stressful times. I hope you guys are all, doing well. But if you see, any situation like this is an opportunity. And I know a lot of people are taking those opportunities and stocking up on stock besides just the toilet paper. So I understand, and I hope everyone's staying healthy, but also not making any rush judgments about their financial future, because it might be rough for all of us. So thank you to Eli for hanging out with me. Of course, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, because Eli and many other contributors to this channel have been so awesome and coming on every week and every month. So thank you to them. Click the subscribe button and the bell notification icon as well. Looking forward to your comments. Other than that, see you guys next time, and remember to stay charged.